doesn't have one thing,
Mm-hmm.
give it something else just to make it interesting.
It looks like it's a black and white film.
For a designer to have a client who would want something like that is amazing.
So much more than just furniture.
It's a lot of trial and error. It's so much.
There's no science at all.
The property is very high end and they're paying a lot for it, but
Yeah.
they don't want to spend much on the interiors. Best clients, the ones that go, we trust you. We want you to show us design and really go through with it and we can discuss it.
Where do you find your inspiration?
Complicated. It's very complicated. That for me would be a dream come as well. It's not even a name for a style anymore. AI maybe? It's amazing. They love us.
So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's really lovely. And when we found you and your portfolio and everything, we were just like, oh my God, we would love to have you at the show and love to have the conversation. Yes. So yeah, thank you for taking your
I'm
time.
really glad to be here. This is
Yeah.
a really, really cool idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super sweet.
No, thank you. Would you be able to introduce yourself and what do you do?
My name's Josh Gourgey. I have been designing for about 5 years. Before that, I was coding. So it was quite a strange little change to my career path. But I was looking for something more creative. And there were a number of properties. My dad's in property, and there were a number of properties I started designing with him. And I started designing myself with my own business, and had a number of clients that had bits and pieces that they wanted to do, and started getting bigger and bigger. And at one point I decided it would be worth to find another company which I really love the style of, which was Bergman. And I've been working with Marie, the founder, for 2.5 years.
Oh my God. Have you always been a creative person or have it...
You know, I didn't actually think I was a creative person when I was at school. Because I always loved science and maths, and I loved something that had a specific answer that you could never go wrong. And I was terrible at English. I couldn't do, I found that I was never getting the right style, and I just thought, well, there you go, I'm not creative. But I think as time goes on, you start to realize where your passions lie.
Yeah.
And I have a big passion for nature, beauty, everything artistic. And I think the more that I realize that that's where I enjoy being around, the more I realize that I could have a creative flair. I feel like creative is a term thrown round and round, but
yeah, it feels like two extremes always merge in a way.
Absolutely.
It's
yeah.
so funny how I've found like some of the most technical people that I know are running drummers in the rock bands.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, what did this do? Like, it's so
I really think that there are some parallels between a number of different industries and professions and passions and hobbies, which aren't as obvious, but as you dig deeper, like with this drummer, that maybe it is something with the tuning and this the way the mind works to play like that is something that also works with being very technical. You never know.
Oh yes. Wow. So how did it come about that your dad asked you to design your their spaces?
I started working with him several years ago, but I was also working on smaller side projects. He had some properties that he was renting out and not just developing and selling on. And as ones got older, we would start to look at how we could improve them, how we could raise the property value, and so eventually that just ended up with providing some inspiration for some designs that you could share.
Got it. Oh, wow. So you just kind of like picked it up. Did you do any courses, or did you?
I started a course at one point with the KLC, but I never finished it. I started it, and I actually just thought that I would rather just dive head first into it, and it was really useful, the course. I went over all the material, but it just felt like one of those things that was a useful starter or a useful foundation for understanding maybe where you need to be to start your career in this. But as I go into it, I realize that it's probably more useful to just give it a shot.
Wow. But what is your stance then on it? Do you think it's a necessary part of the journey, or do you think that that's...
I don't think so.
No?
Not at all, no. In terms of intellectual reading. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. You know, learning about color theory and all these sort of things are is really really fun, and I loved to read all of the material.
Mm.
But you don't necessarily use that in. I haven't found
Oh,
in
really?
yeah in the work, because I think that when you're talking to the clients, they don't
Mm.
actually want to understand that side of things. So if you've paired some colors, some
Yeah.
furniture and walls based on color theory,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't like it, you can't really explain, oh, well, this is because of these various ideas and concepts. They just want to know, actually, I just want it to look how I want it to look. That's it. So I think it's great to know. It does help here and there, but it's not
Mm.
a necessity, is what I mean.
Got it.
Mm.
So I guess there's like something that you probably naturally have picked up as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Style changes as well so
yeah.
much.
Oh, yeah.
But there are plenty of things that I've picked up along the way.
Mm.
Um, Various, I think, design principles, which really funnily, I think, are in parallel with fashion.
Yes.
I think you see so much of it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a funny one which I've seen, I think has gone viral a lot recently, which is if something doesn't have color or doesn't have the right color, then you've got to have it texture. And if it's not texture, it's got to be design. And there's all these sort of, if it doesn't have one thing,
Mm-hmm.
give it something else just to make it interesting. And I
Okay.
think that's something which I think it's really important. You could have an
Yeah.
entirely white room. I mean, if you want that. But if it's all the same fabric, it's going to be really boring. But if you change the texture and the
Yeah.
design of everything, it can be a very interesting, very cool design.
I have seen like some recent design in completely opposite, like all dark gray and black.
Yeah,
And it's just different textures, different
there you
reflections
go.
of the
Yeah,
light and different things. And
amazing.
it probably for some people it's probably too much,
Yeah,
too
absolutely.
brutalistic. But
Yeah.
I saw that it's most commonly done in the bedrooms or somewhere like where it's naturally you want it to be darker.
hmm
And I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing.
You're right.
Like, it looks like it's a black and white film
Mm.
rather than like the actual thing. And then you realize that in parallel, you see the next room
hmm
next to it. And then it's like, oh no,
What a
it is like
contrast. Yeah,
this.
yeah.
And it just like is so, like, it just creates this different feeling.
But that's exactly
Yeah.
it, isn't it? It's the feeling you create.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think there are designs which maybe you're supposed to be more cozy, a little bit, sort of
Mm.
like more homey. And then there are designs like the ones you're talking about,
Yeah.
which, depending on the person, for a designer to have a client who would want something like that is amazing, because
Mm.
it gives you the opportunity to really change the style to evoke a feeling like that,
Yeah.
like the one that you experienced.
Oh, literally, I was seeing it and it was through the screen, and I would be
Mm.
like, all my goosebumps, and I'm like, oh my god, they've done a really good job to even
Yeah.
translate it through the whole thing, and just got so fascinated.
Isn't that
Uh,
amazing though, that you can sort of like
yes,
you walk into a room and you see this and you get goosebumps and you get the
yes,
feeling like that is it's phenomenal.
yeah, I think that it's just so fascinating because it's how I've learned as well that it's so much more than just furniture and so much more than
Yeah.
just putting the thing. It's all the things are in the details that
hmm
actually create that wholesome feeling.
hmm
Wow.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's being inspired as well by something is a
Mm.
huge part of it.
Oh yeah.
Huge part.
What has been the most creative or interesting project that you got to had a chance to work on?
There's one which I've really enjoyed working on, which was and we're now doing the outdoor area for this, sort of redoing this terrace area for a place in Bournemouth.
Mm.
And it's not my usual style, what the client wanted,
Yeah.
but it's a beautiful New England style home. It's a big blue house and it's very maximalist. You have the danger of stepping over the line and with all these accessories making it look really
Mm.
tacky, but it's
Mm.
gorgeous. And that was the most fun. I love subtle and more
Yeah.
minimalist or slightly clearer designs than
Okay.
the one that I did for that project, but it was amazing. It was 4 floors and huge rooms, and it was
Yeah.
an old house as well.
Did you have to redo the whole thing?
We had to redo the whole thing,
Wow.
and it's turned out beautifully. the kitchen, is an
Okay.
old style. It has an Aga
Mm.
in the kitchen.
Oh my
So,
God.
it's you've got to work around the plumbing and electrics and make sure everything, but also give it that style and open it up, and then it's right on the water. So you're looking over the Poole Harbour
Oh my
and
God.
trying to angle the design to take the appreciation of that. And in the backyard, you've got practically a forest behind you.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh my
That
God.
was a really great project to work on.
Oh my God. But it's also like Bergman is, well, like you do very luxurious and very like
Oh yeah,
high
with Bergman,
end.
yeah, we've
Uh,
done some great projects as well. Yeah.
Oh, but this is not part of the Bergman.
Oh no, that one. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I should probably
Oh, no,
specify
no, no, not
that
at
that
all.
one that I did was a few years ago.
Ah, got it.
And that wasn't with Bergman, but with Bergman, yeah, there are plenty of great projects.
Because I went through like the different parts,
Mm,
and some of them are just like so futuristic
yeah,
and so incredible in terms of like just feels like in a sci-fi movie.
absolutely. Yeah.
And but at the same time, there's like so many kind of like just wholesome,
Mm,
beautiful.
I completely agree. I think that's one of my favorite things about Bergman
Mm,
is we have wonderful high-end projects, but it's not just a single style that
yeah,
clients come to us for. They don't just want
yeah.
one set like of tones and colors and go,
Mm,
okay, this is what we want in our place. They know that they're coming for, maybe there is an underlying style, but it is going to be completely unique.
oh,
And being able to work on those and come up with
yeah.
an idea of how we're going to transform a space that
Mm,
isn't just copy and pasting from another
yeah.
project is that's amazing.
Oh, yeah. But in that New England home,
Mm.
how did you kind of like, how did it come about? Like, did it turn into such a like a rather maximalism home? Like, what was your approach?
It was
And
because of the client.
really,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm really glad that she did push for it
oh,
because again, it's these sort of things where if you put it's a really fine line between having like an accessory that looks maybe tacky on its own. You put it somehow in the middle of like a Bergman project and it becomes
mm,
like a key feature and it actually works super well. But then you
mm,
add too many of them and suddenly it looks a bit too tacky. And then in this particular Lewing style home in Bournemouth, it's cluttered but organized clutter. I don't know if that
ah,
makes sense. It's all the shelves are stacked with accessories we found
yeah,
from even just like small shops, local shops
mm,
that have sort of like old vintage items, or if it's like new places that have some really cool.
yeah,
Sometimes we went to a few galleries just to find small objects
oh
that they were
yeah,
selling, that designers and artists did.
yeah,
So it's a complete mix, but trying to figure out where each piece goes and then collect them together, it was a challenge.
I can
It was a
imagine.
challenge, but it was, oh my God, it turned out beautifully. That was an amazing project.
The organized clutter, or how you call it,
Mm.
for me, always when I see it, it looks absolutely stunning.
Mm.
But it's scary a little bit
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
because it feels like, oh my God, if I add too many things,
Exactly.
how
Yeah.
it,
No, that's exactly right. We found that it was a lot of playing around. I think
mm,
when it comes to that, there isn't exactly a roadmap to use,
okay,
and it is subjective, of course.
yeah,
But it became something where I was placing objects and seeing, does this really work? And sometimes it was horrible, and I had to take everything off and try again. And
mm,
it's you sort of want to try and follow a theme or follow some sort of design direction. But when you have like a variety of objects which don't necessarily match, you just
mm,
have to sort of go with it. And sometimes you just have to play around and edit and edit and edit. And then you come
mm,
out with a result that's kind of working. And then you work
okay.
around that. And I think it was a lot of time spent working around that.
I can imagine. How do you actually maintain that wholesome feeling so like the things actually belong there and they,
It's a really tough question to answer though,
okay,
because I think it's because there are so many variations
mm,
of what you could do when there are so many accessories and bits
okay,
and pieces that you're organizing
mm,
around a space all over the house. It means that I think you're going mostly off of feeling,
okay,
and it's something where you're trying to envision what everyone is going to be doing in the
mm,
space, what they're going to be seeing, and what works when they're seeing it. And then selecting the pieces which you think should go at different heights and different areas, and then how you're if I'm cooking or if I'm cleaning or, if I'm eating, what do I want to see? What do I want near me? What's going to be too distracting? What's going to be maybe a little bit warm and cute and fuzzy? That's all of
Mm.
these sort of different trying feelings that you're trying to find in each object and
Got it.
how they place and how they work with other objects next to them.
Got it.
But it's a lot of trial and error. It's so much.
So there's no science at all.
Yeah, I would have loved it if there was some sort of answer. This is why I love science at school. But no,
Got it.
not
Got
in
it.
this job.
Oh my god. But to be fair, like I've actually learned that there's quite a lot of structure in it,
Yeah,
in the job.
loads of
Uh,
structure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that kind of helps to kind of create that compartmentalize it, I
yeah,
would say, even like all the different sections, and then there's like you create those sections of creativity.
yeah, absolutely. No,
And
no, no, you're right. I think the flow of a space as well.
yeah.
Thinking, you always want to start. I always want to start with the layout,
Hmm.
and when you do the plans for a place, how how something works, how how is this space going to feel when you enter, and what is it going to be like when you go into another room, or where is it going to lead you to, and where do you want it to lead you to?
Okay.
And understanding that, it helps to then bring in the bigger items, the sofas, and sort of like
Hmm.
know where everything's going to be placed. And that, so there is a structure,
Okay.
100%, but at the same time it's subjective. So I may have my process, I have like a
Hmm.
structure sorted, and I could show it to someone else and they can go, I hate this. you know doesn't happen often, but but it does, because it's subjective.
Um,
Like there's no right decision, but
hmm.
this is what makes it sometimes a tricky job, is
Hmm.
not just going for what you like, but what the client would like, or what the public you think would
Yeah.
would enjoy most.
Wow. And when you work with like rather with big budgets, and
Mm.
how does it kind of happen? Either I envision it either that you have full on creative freedom,
Mm.
or would it be the opposite, that the clients usually like are very specific, that I want this, and
Mm.
please stick to only that specific thing because this is what I kind of like, or there's kind of like a mix of both of them?
I think there's a mix of both, but more often than not, you're left with restrictions.
Wow.
So there are, I mean, we've worked with some clients who
Yeah.
the property is very high end and they're paying a
Yeah.
lot for it, but
Yeah.
they don't want to spend much on the interiors, which,
Really?
yeah, or they don't think it should cost so much.
Wow.
And then there are other clients who spend a fair amount on the property itself and then
Hmm.
will spend almost the same amount on interiors, which I love. The best clients are the ones that go, we trust you,
Hmm.
we want you to show us design and really go through with it, and then we can discuss it, and it is a
Okay.
collaboration.
Interesting.
But more often I think that you get clients who, if they do have the high budget, they will be restricting what you can purchase, because they either have brands that they want to go with that
Okay.
they've heard about, and some people want that brand name,
Yeah.
and on other times I think they want a specific style which they
Ah.
haven't communicated always properly to you, but it just takes a few options
Yeah.
to show them. And but it's great when they're sort of more relaxed about how much to
Yeah.
spend. It sort of gives you the freedom to give them a variety of options and then really filter it down to exactly what they want.
So it's always like an iteration process that
Yeah.
you never can go without it.
No, you always have
Yeah.
to. You always
Yeah.
have to. Even with developers.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh wow. I would
Yeah,
have not thought this.
there's consultants. Yeah.
No, but like I mean, like usually, like okay, yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm curious because I thought that it's, yeah, developers have a plan. You do the plan, and then you hand over, and you do with whatever you want with the space. Or seems like
I'd
no.
love that if that's the case. That would be amazing. But no, I think, funnily enough, they have sometimes more of a say than you would expect,
Okay.
because maybe they, usually the architect is who
Mm.
first has the initial structure of what's going on in the property, or whether it's an island or a hotel,
Hmm.
whatever it is. And so from there, you were then imposed with the developer who has, and the architect who has, an idea of what they want to come from the space. So trying to transform that space into another concept can be a
Yeah.
little tricky. But
Okay.
if you do a good enough concept, we'll always try and show extra options. If
Okay.
they don't want it, they don't have to have it. But it's nice to
Okay.
just share with the client how you can envision the space and hope that they are passionate enough about the idea that they will go along with you.
Yeah.
But it's tough.
I can imagine. Just recently spoke to someone about how everyone is kind of like leader of their own thing or area.
Yeah.
Like a builder is always gonna be like, I know the most about the building
Yeah.
of the thing. The design aspect is like, how do we actually manage and create actual space
Yeah.
that people enjoy and
Yeah.
out of it. And then there's also like the owner who's like,
Yeah.
well, this is my space.
Yeah.
I want.
Exactly. Oh
And
my
it's
gosh.
like
Yeah.
kind of like coordinating all of those strong opinions.
Horribly. Yeah. It's complicated. It's very complicated. I think if you have good contractors and good
Hmm.
builders, and you have a client who is open to regular communication, you can get a project that it's actually done fairly cleanly.
Oh, well.
But without that, it's quite tricky.
Okay.
Because fortunately, I've spent a lot of time on the construction end as well of projects,
Yeah.
so I've seen where things go wrong, and
Okay.
so it does help to tweak the design so that you know that you're not encountering any problems later on. But there will always be issues, and it's not
Hmm.
always things that you can manage. We've worked on properties that have that are listed. The front at least
Yeah.
is listed, and that causes a lot of issues in terms of the construction because there's only so much you can do, and when the
Hmm.
client wants a specific time frame for the project to be done by,
Yeah.
it sometimes just the red tape
Yeah.
forces the project to go over, and there's
Hmm.
nothing that anyone can do about it, and it's nothing that you could find out until while the
Yeah.
construction is going on. So it's terrible. but actually, when with these sort of projects, it's okay if you're the middleman and you are
Hmm.
able to coordinate with both,
Yeah.
you're able to find a solution somehow.
Oh, yeah. Well, it kind of comes back to the communication.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I'm
Hmm.
I'm big on communication. I've seen a lot of projects from other companies go a little haywire from what I've heard,
Really?
just from bad communication,
Wow.
because everyone has their own method of doing things. Everyone hears bits and pieces. If you've got a massive project, a massive hotel that's being built,
Yeah.
you've got the owner, you've got the architects, you've got consultants, you've got the designers, you've then got the contractors, and
Hmm.
so many others in between. And trying to get pieces of information to fall along that line perfectly
Yeah.
is almost impossible. So all you can do is try and keep pressing communication on and on and on. And the more
Yeah.
you do that, the oh my god, it's amazing to see how much better the project goes. I think sometimes in this industry as well, with creatives being
Yeah.
the foundation of it, it
Hmm.
means that you have a lot less clear communication and logic going into a lot of the decisions being made, and it's a little bit more free flowing, which is great for design, but
Hmm.
trickier for the procurement side of things.
Oh, yeah. Do you think that your kind of like background in
Yeah, encoding and
yeah,
things like
in
that.
software
Yeah,
engineering,
yeah,
like, does it help out?
yeah. It does. Because
Thanks.
this is the thing. I went into code. I've always been someone who feels more logical,
Yeah.
and so it makes sense to me. I have steps in my head of how to do anything. So if I'm given a project, I then break each part down and how do I want to handle each and every space,
Yeah.
and how does everything need to work, and in my head it's all there,
Mm.
and then I organize it on my computer, and it's getting
Mm.
everything down to follow like a very clean list. I mean, I know it's maybe a bit too much, but that
Serves you
helps
in the
me.
long run.
Exactly. It really does. It really does. It's like the coding and the software engineer problem solving aspect
Yeah.
really plays into
Oh, yes.
really plays
Uh,
in, because I think it's also understanding how you solve one problem, you need to be aware that you might be breaking another one.
oh, yes.
Mm.
It's kind of like so fascinating how, like, actually the problem solving is such an essential skill
Yeah,
to have in anything, really.
I
And
know.
especially if in projects like this, when there's
Mm.
like hundreds different of variables where you never know what it's gonna trigger.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
I
Oh, you're
think
so
it's
right.
like in engineering, I kind of. I
Yeah,
remember
makes sense.
like working a lot with engineers, and it's always like, wait, we need to think through what else is gonna be in this whole thing.
It's music to my ears.
Yes, but it kind of becomes a habit.
Yeah,
Once you do it over and over again,
yeah,
then you're like, okay, it actually saved me so much time.
yeah. It is. I mean, it's a
Yeah,
very transferable skill.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't think there's enough people who have it. You do hear a lot of projects around the world going
Mm,
horribly wrong because things haven't been sorted out in time or things haven't been thought through properly.
mm,
I've even seen it on my own projects where some things are just, well, there are unforeseen errors that are going to take place. Sometimes a contractor reads something wrong, sometimes a supplier sends you
yeah,
the wrong item. But when something goes wrong, also being able to think on the spot and try and figure out how to solve that
yeah,
is that's immeasurably useful.
yeah.
Because if you have the design in your mind, I find that you then have an easy next step of how to fix it, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, totally.
Mm,
But coming back to the design itself, like, where do you find your inspiration, or how do you kind of go about actually coming up with the different concepts
that's a good question.
and
I think I don't know if there's a single source.
mm,
I find that I love art. I love going to galleries, and that has provided me with a lot of inspiration because sometimes there's pieces that you see and you don't quite understand why you like it, but it is doing something for you, and spending more time just looking at something is
mm,
that's incredibly helpful. And
mm,
and then there's nature. I'm big on nature. I'm a very outdoorsy person,
wow,
um, and there is something intrinsically beautiful
mm,
about nature and everywhere you look. And I think that throughout a number of industries, not just design,
yeah,
nature is providing a lot of answers for how to organize things and how to design
yeah,
things and how to so it's a lot of inventions these days have been based off of forms in nature, and you see a lot of forms from nature in design that do something to us which we can't quite understand why. There are certain
mm,
things that are beautiful, that inspire us, and that seem incredible to us, and that is just, I mean, that goes to back to the mind, and there's a lot there's a lot to work out behind that.
oh
But I
my
think
god,
that it's a great starting place for me.
wow. Do you have any examples that you kind of like have like a direct pull from the nature that kind of has been implemented in design?
Yeah, I think it's harder to find a project where I've done it myself,
Okay.
just because it's you would try to bring in elements from the way sometimes you'll see like organic forms as like a very
Hmm.
uh, basic use of nature, not something quite as deep as
Yeah.
the deeper forms, but organic shapes, something like that, we will use then for a coffee table
Wow.
or something for a cupboard or for a headboard. There are ways to
Hmm.
merge things, and although it looks amorphous, it is based off of like an inspired sort of piece or
Hmm.
something that you've seen, something in near the area. For the Bournemouth property I was referring to, the
Yeah.
New
Yeah.
England home,
Yeah.
there was a lot of nature on both sides.
Wow.
There was an island just off of it, and it inspired a dining table, the shape of the entire thing. And it's not a complete copy,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's enough that when you're eating, you can sort of actually see a subtle mirroring between what you're looking at in the distance and what you're
Hmm.
eating from. So things like that are
Wow.
really cool.
Interesting. But I guess that's the part of like bringing the nature inside in the home as well,
Yeah.
which is I see more and more that
Mm,
people are trying to find the balance in the
absolutely.
designs
Yeah,
and merge it together.
I would love to work on a project that is more remote than anything I've done and
Mm.
find a way to really bring in nature into the building. I think that for me would be a dream home as well. It's one of those things where I wouldn't want to feel like stuck inside
Yeah.
and feeling like you're part of the space around you, but still in your own home, and not feeling like you need to be outside to feel like you're around, you know, more
Yeah.
more natural things would be amazing. And to design something like that would be incredible.
Oh my god.
It'd be a dream.
Like a fully remote place.
A really remote place. I mean, you see these architects who've done these
Yeah.
these buildings, I mean, far away from from any
Yeah.
civilization, but they've
Yeah.
managed to create some structures that feed into the earth
Yeah.
and come out of it, and it's working with everything
Yeah.
around it. I think that's really really amazing.
Yeah. I've seen recently that there has been like basically on a hill,
Mm.
and they basically built a house inside the hill.
Mm-hmm.
So it just has like it covers on the top like with the grass and everything
Yeah.
else. And I was just looking at it, I'm like it takes a lot of kind of like
A
inspiration to
lot.
come of
Yeah.
with something like this, but also like how complex it can be, also
Mm.
like digging it all up
Absolutely.
and to requiring like all the structure, and there's
Oh
probably
yeah.
so much life in the middle of it as well,
Exactly.
and to kind of like make sure that it doesn't disrupt too much
Oh my
all of
gosh,
this stuff.
absolutely, yeah. It's
Yeah.
I can't imagine something more difficult than that, really, because it's uncharted territory.
Yeah.
This is not, at least going into any project in a
Mm.
city or a town or somewhere where there is power
Yeah.
around it. You at least know that, okay, I'm dealing with a normal situation relatively.
Mm.
But something like that would, I'm sure it's worth it at the end, though. To see something
Yeah.
that's incredible. That's
Yeah.
wow.
Oh yes.
I envy the architects who.
But but it's something you mentioned in the beginning, that the style is evolving super fast and
Yeah.
things change. How do you see like where the style is going now?
I actually don't see there being a set style anymore. I
Mm.
think that we used to have, the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, there used to be fashion and design
Mm.
magazines. And
Mm.
there used
Mhm.
to be phases for the decade almost,
Yeah.
where people would see something and everyone would want to mimic it because there was a restriction on how much people were actually seeing in the media.
Yeah.
And these days, with everything else around you, it's starting to push towards a space where I think there is a big push for a mix between, like, I see a lot in Hollywood, there's a 20% vintage, 80% very modern and sleek, and trying to find that balance between the two in each room.
Mm.
But even that said, I think these days there's not even a name for a style anymore. There's so many mixes of
Yeah.
things that you've seen, and people are making it work,
Yeah.
which is great to see.
Yeah.
But I think that it's harder then to predict what's going to come next because everyone's already there. I think that AI maybe is going to have a big
Yeah.
hand in
Mm.
pushing forward styles, but I think it's going to create so much more variety that I don't think you can say that this is the one place it's headed.
Got it. Which is your own favorite style, kind of like to work in, and what would you?
I again, I don't know if I have a specific name for the style, and because
Okay.
I do a variety of projects where I think that the style does change, but I love sleek furniture with textured fabrics and things like that, something where it feels more organic rather than
Mm.
sharp and perhaps more masculine. I like something that's a little bit of curvaceous,
Yeah.
things like that you see in the space. It would be slightly more 80s modern. I don't know how to describe it. It's one of those tricky things with you know, um, and it depends on the room. I've done some beautiful, I worked on some beautiful
Yeah.
brutalist designs, but it's not specifically for me.
Yeah.
But I would have it in my home if it was the right space. It's
Got
really
it.
hard to pick a style and say this is me, if that makes
Mm.
sense. Do you
Oh yeah.
have? Is there one that you really like, or?
Me?
Mm,
I think that it's kind of like evolved over
mm,
time as well, because I think at one point I was super into minimalistic stuff
yeah.
and very minimal, and even on the color. And then I went and bought a dark blue sofa.
Mm,
And then I'm just like, well, this is gone. And this is like over. But then I think like it kind of came from the place that I was afraid of the color
Yeah.
rather than like that I truly liked only like something extremely light.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that then I started just embedding a little bit more of like different, also studying more and
Yeah.
like seeing a little bit and truly letting it sit as well.
Mm-hmm.
That I would come back to in a couple of months, and if I'm like, oh no, I've moved on,
Yeah.
or if this is still really cool, then
Yeah.
it kind of resonated, and then that's what I found for myself to give it time,
Yeah.
uh, to kind of like really,
Yeah. Because that's how
um,
you know this is what's
yes,
hitting me well, and
exactly,
yeah. Yeah.
and I think like I settled something between modern Scandinavian, I
Mm-hmm.
would say.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like lots of wood. I
Yeah.
really like the texture of the wood.
Yeah.
The patterns as well. What
Mm.
wood brings in, but at the same time, I like some of the Parisian
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
inspiration.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was like, I bought it on the spot whenever I saw it, was Pierre Poulin, the Groovy chair.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, I wanted something very specific. And then I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
Because it kind of is feminine,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it brought in that little bit of character that
Yeah.
it's not a regular chair that
Mm-hmm.
you don't see everywhere, but but at the
It's a
same,
standout piece. Yeah.
exactly. And but at the same time, it's in a light color that I'm like, well, it doesn't like
It's not too
too annoying.
overbearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that is still, I'm just like my my like a little gem. There's so much exploration that I found in even kitchen accessories, like
Oh yes.
having like really cool kettle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like rather than something extremely boring, I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
I want something like a little bit extra, or like some like the most easy thing I think that people always often overlook is just coffee table books.
Yes.
You can change them every week,
Absolutely.
and they're so colorful, and they
Yeah.
bring that extra thing, and then I'm just like, this is super easy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
My account at Waterstones is it's amazing. They love us.
I can imagine. But yes, oh
No,
my
I
god,
couldn't agree more. I think you're right though. It is about finding a style that sits with you
yeah,
for a while, and actually, if it's continuing to bring you that pleasure, then you know that it's working. I
yeah,
mean, like I loved Japanese
oh
style.
yes,
I've been a Japanophile for my entire life since I was a kid. I just found something that hit me in the right spot with everything Japanese, from Japanese gardens
oh yeah,
to their culture,
oh
and
yeah.
their design is unbelievable.
But it's so diverse,
Yeah,
actually, as well, from like the traditional tea houses to the modern buildings that they're building right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
So
And
different.
they've managed to keep the essence of
Yeah,
Japanese style in everything that they do, which is
yeah,
really difficult.
yeah,
It's very hard to do. If you see a lot of other cultures, they've sort of moved on from their traditional roots and try and,
yeah,
bring it back in bits and pieces. But still to this day, I think you see something that is Japanese, even if it's built in the modern times, and you can
yeah,
still point it out and go, that's Japanese, which
yeah.
is it's a
Oh,
tough
yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah, I actually learned this week about it. We had like another guest on, and
Mm.
she worked in Japan, and she said that they have a regulatory requirement to rebuild all the houses every 70 years. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's insane
Yeah.
in some, but like for earthquakes and all those
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah.
But I guess like it's also like the way to see like the whole community evolves and
Absolutely.
changes and
Yeah.
like adapts and brings on like all this kind of like carries on, I guess, in the
Hmm.
culture as well, and
Absolutely.
modernizes it over time.
100%.
Yeah.
But they are still one of the oldest cultures,
Oh
and
yes.
I think it's still 99% native Japanese population,
Yeah.
and it shows. I don't know if you've ever been, but
Yes.
yeah, and it's the buildings are still very Japanese and beautiful, and you still get this old feeling when
Yeah.
you walk through places like Kyoto or
Yeah.
Hakone, where it's very very so even the old like the ryokans,
Yeah.
the hotels, like there's something extremely tastefully done style about these Japanese buildings. Even if they have been recently built, you still feel like
Yeah.
you're taking a step back in history,
Oh
which I
yeah.
can't say about many other places.
Oh true. That is so true actually.
Mm.
Oh my god, like now you're highlighting it. I'm like, oh my god, yeah, you always have the bamboo
Yeah.
everywhere, and
Yeah.
it kind of
There's
carries
that
out.
light wood as well that you see,
Yes.
even the ceiling installations they
Yeah.
have, you know, even if it's subtly done, you still see the same patterns here and there, and it's definable
Yeah.
Japanese style. It's amazing. I'm obsessed. I could speak about Japan for hours and hours. Should have
But
derailed this interview.
no, no, but it's actually also like fascinating how like in the recent years it has actually taken over the whole world,
Yeah.
like their style and like merged with like funnily they have such a similar kind of structure with Finland as well, and then
Yeah.
there's such a big bond that and because like my sister lives in Finland and
Mm.
I go to visit her quite often, and
Hmm.
it's fascinating how like I guess in Scandinavia in general, it's very common to have everything. The whole room is white. The
Yeah.
floor is white, walls, ceiling, everything is
Hmm.
white. But at the same time, you don't feel like you're in a hospital.
Yeah.
And it's so, and then like the last time I was over, and I literally sat down and I looked around and I'm like, but why?
Yeah. It's a
And then I
great
started
question.
analyzing like how it actually like, because, and then it comes to textures, then I am like, oh my God.
Mm. Yeah, but I mean, this is
Exactly.
it, isn't it?
Yes.
It's trying to figure out what it is
Yeah.
that's why are two things which are so similar
Yeah.
giving you such different
Yeah,
feelings?
exactly. It never feels cold. It never.
No.
It's always feeling welcoming. It's
Mm.
always like this kind of. And then I think like in general they're very they use a lot of light wood as
Yeah.
well. The
Yeah. Yeah.
way
Yeah.
that in Japan, and then
Hmm.
it's kind of like so similar how kind of like culturally they like each other as well.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, right? So really similar, but
Yeah.
completely different.
Yeah.
You know, I could point out the two so easily.
Yeah.
And I think that's really fun, especially when doing projects. You know,
Mm.
I pitched for a project in Japan, and
Mm.
I haven't done any work in Scandinavia, but
Yeah.
working along the lines of like the history and the culture
Yeah.
and bringing that into the design is amazing.
Mm.
That's like, you know, where the passion lies.
Got it. Oh, interesting that
Mm.
it's kind of like completely different from like
Yeah.
the grand
Yeah,
designs that like London is quite grand and traditional, and a lot
absolutely.
of kind of like different carpets and things like this.
Yeah. But you know what? It's really
Yeah,
interesting to see how the, especially in London,
yeah,
the interiors are changing to a variety of styles. I don't feel
yeah.
like London's as easily recognized based on the interiors anymore. You sort of
Um,
can categorize it by area. You know, you sort of got a little bit more of the same stuff in Mayfair's, you do in
mm,
Chelsea, and Soho's a little bit more, you know, and in Shoreditch. But yeah, absolutely.
it's
It's quite strange to see the change coming through London because
yeah.
it's all of these it's all of this hype, I think, that's around design, all of these sort of like different pieces, and people are realizing that they can bring something completely different into their home as
Mm.
to what's seen on the exterior.
One really interesting question, because there is like I think a rather controversial,
Yeah.
where some people think like you have to keep the aesthetic inside to be aligned with the exterior,
Mm.
and then the others they're like, who cares?
Mm.
How what is your
I think
opinion?
who cares? In
Okay.
fact, I say go for it.
Ah.
I think it depends on the building, and if it's historical, I think you should try and keep something, you
Okay.
know. But absolutely. I love the idea of having, you know, I love buildings where they're older buildings, historical buildings, but not necessarily important to the culture. But, you know,
Okay.
I've seen a castle in Mauritius,
Hmm.
and the guy who owns it, his mum was a student of Monet, and so they've completely redone the interior, and they've decorated with all of his mum's paintings, which really resemble Monet's
Oh my
paintings.
god.
And you don't feel like you're in a different space or that this clashes in the wrong way. You go in, you see this beautiful old castle from the outside, and you walk in
Hmm.
and you go, and it's a completely modern interior, but you go, wow, this is amazing. Because there's still elements to the outside that you can see, but
Yeah.
it's actually combining for a beautiful new style. I think it's absolutely go for it. 100%. I would love
Oh
to.
my
I
god.
like to see something different from the outside and then walk in and still be a little bit intrigued to see what I'm going to see on the inside.
Hmm.
and creates a bit of mystery and desire.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God.
Do you not? Do you know what I mean, or do you? How do you feel about it? Do you want?
I want to say tastefully done.
Yeah, of
And it's
course.
so everyone has their own taste, so that's kind of
Mm,
like a little bit. But I think is not completely disregard what the exterior is,
mm-hmm.
but even if the interior is completely different, it still takes the elements of it.
Of course, yeah.
Not to do completely like on the outside,
No,
it's
no, no.
one era, on the inside is completely different, but kind of
Absolutely.
like complement each other, but
Yes.
give
Yeah.
the freedom of.
I can agree more.
Yeah,
I would always want to bring in subtle. I love subtle design.
yeah.
I'm not someone who likes the big flashy, logos and
Mm.
symbols and bits
Mm.
and pieces so obviously done, but I love taking elements which you wouldn't really notice unless you knew the place well or you knew
Yeah,
the area well and bringing
yeah,
that in. And so there's a huge story to tell. I think
yeah,
it's so important to tell a story in the design.
yeah.
And if you have a good narrative based on everything around you and you bring that into something which, if you came into a place, which I did, and there was a lot going on, you wouldn't necessarily notice everything and
Mm.
completely understand the story. But the more that you spend time around the area, the more that
Mm.
you would notice things, and it would start to feel more like a well
Mm.
structured place.
What's your favorite piece of furniture and why?
Um, I I think a coffee table.
Oh,
I spend most of my time around a
mm.
coffee table in some form or
Okay.
another. It becomes the center of a lot of activities
Mm.
and it's used more often than not. And I feel like you have a lot of freedom in the design of a coffee table. And I love to see what I can do with it. So, as a designer, a coffee
Yeah,
table,
got it. What would you choose, statement lighting or statement furniture?
statement furniture.
Hmm.
Absolutely. It's just personally, I notice it
Yeah,
more than I notice the
I
lighting.
like.
It's the first thing that I want to sit on and,
Interesting. If your design would be a cocktail, which one would it be?
an old fashioned because it's well, I put a lot of bitters in my old fashioned, so
Mm.
it's got a really nice warm orange glow, and
Okay.
it's timeless, and I think it's tasty as hell. So
What's the first thing you notice when you walk into someone's home?
the walls, if it's open, if it's not open, and the color of the walls, it tells everything. I don't know why it really speaks to me of what this person thinks and how they wanted their place to feel like it because it indicates the
Yeah,
flow of
yeah.
the house from there on. So if it's a really narrow
Mm.
corridor and everything else is sort of sectioned off along the
Yeah.
long narrow corridor, it's very different to someone who went for maybe a smaller place but it's a lot more open. And I think it says a lot about especially even the color of the walls. It
That
says
is
a lot.
that is so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. And the last one,
Mm.
what's one piece of advice you would give someone styling their own home?
Start big. I always think you start big and get smaller from there. So start with the walls and what color they're going to be. What are you going to use? You can use a plaster or a paint and
Yeah.
this sort of stuff. Then the big pieces of furniture and what you really want to be in there. The bigger stuff, the colors, and then the smaller you go, you'll be able to figure out what works best because you know what is dominating the space.
We're going to finish on this
Yeah.
interesting note. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank
I
you for having me.
absolutely
This was a
loved how.
great conversation.
Yes. Well, I wish we had like even more
More
couple.
time. I know, yeah.
Exactly.
This
Couple.
really flew by.
Yes.
It feels like it's been 10 minutes.